Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining the FCSUA's April Informational Webinar, celebrating 10 years of Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program success through the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities. My name is Drew Andrews, and I'm the director of the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities. This webinar is being recorded and will be available in a couple of days on our YouTube channel. Today's webinar will highlight the remarkable growth of Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Programs, showcase inspiring student stories, and explore the innovative products and supports developed over the past 10 years. Handouts can be downloaded from the chat section, which can be accessed by clicking on the chat icon, which is a speech bubble at the bottom of the Zoom window. Also, closed captioning is available by clicking on CC at the bottom of the Zoom window. Questions can be posted in the Q&A section. And at this time, we're going to begin the webinar, celebrating 10 years of Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program success through the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities. We had hoped to do this webinar in January, which was when the legislation was originally signed, and had to postpone until today, but it's quite appropriate as session has come to an end this year. So today's agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about the Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program Act, provide you with some history, FPCTP and FCSUA 10-year anniversary celebration that was held here at UCF back in January. And we're also going to give you a current FPCTP update. So let's talk about the Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program Act. There are four major elements to the Act. The first established the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities at the University of Central Florida as a statewide coordinating center. The second established Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Programs and a framework that would align with the federal Comprehensive Transition and Post-Secondary programs. The next two elements both provided funding. Funding for scholarships for students to attend approved programs, and funds for initial and continuing grants to Florida institutions of higher education with approved FPCTPs. So if you're not familiar with the legislation, I'll just quickly go through, and the number is 1004-6495. And the subsections are, there's a short title, which is the Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program. The purpose and legislative intent. 3, provides definitions related to comprehensive transition programs. 4, talks about student eligibility and that the programs are developed for students with an intellectual disability. Subsection 5 talks about the center responsibilities and what we here at the Florida Center are responsible for. Subsection 6 talks about the institutional eligibility and responsibilities once becoming an approved program. 7 talks about the Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program Scholarship for students attending an approved program. 8, with any funding comes accountability. And so subsection 8 talks about the accountability requirements and the reporting that is required. 9 has a few rules, and 10 was an additional element that talked about program classification, which gave us the ability to have classification of instructional programs, zip codes. If you have an opportunity, look at the legislation. It's very well written and really gives you a clear picture of what we're trying to do. So we want to go back all the way to 2016, with the expectation of the center to be operational by July 1. UCF leaders focused on establishing an initial infrastructure that would facilitate implementation of key components of the legislation. Every time there's new legislation, there seems to be a rush to be able to get that implemented because the dates are always, it's a very quick turnaround. So, one of the first things that they did was to conduct a national search for the center's executive director, and Dr. Paula Kohler was selected and began work on September 6th, 2016. So, in relationship to Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Programs, she needed to establish an application and approval process, scholarship application and award process, startup and enhancement grant application and award process, and an annual report element specified in the act so that the correct elements could all be could be captured and then reported. So, four FPCTPs submitted applications in 2016: Florida Atlantic University, the University of Central Florida, the College of the Florida Keys, and technical colleges was Florida Panhandle Technical College. They all submitted applications in that first year. So, in collaboration with the Board of Governors and the Florida Department of Education, 8 FPCTPs were approved in the 2016-2017 year. FPCTP grant proposal was established and 7 FPCTP grants were awarded. And that's where we started with 8 programs. So those programs were Florida Atlantic University, UCF, Indian River State College, Santa Fe College, the College of the Florida Keys, technical colleges, Florida Panhandle Coast Technical College, McFadder Technical College, and Robert Morgan Educational Center and Technical College. Those programs were at FAU, the Academy for Community Inclusion, at UCF, Inclusive Education Services, at the college, Florida Keys Community College, which it was known at the time, it was Project Access, accessing community college educational experiences, social experiences, and skills for careers. Project Saint, student access and inclusion together. Project Independence at Florida Panhandle Coast Technical College. Grow your Project Stage at Indian River State College, students transitioning to academics and gainful employment. McFadder Technical College, Grow Your Future. And Robert Morgan, TOPS, Transition to Post-Secondary Institutions. So, to further advance the development of FPCTPs across Florida, the center established the Florida Post-Secondary Education Program Planning Institute, which all of us now know as the PEPI, for institutions of higher education to bring teams. The first PEPI was originally scheduled for September 2017, but because of the effects of Hurricane Irma, it was postponed until January 2018. The Institute was open to any planning team interested in developing or enhancing an FPCTP. The 8 teams represented above who had established FPCTPs and 7 teams seeking to establish an FPCTP attended that first PEPI. The Institute content included a keynote breakout sessions, as well as facilitated team planning, just as we do today, with the expectation that teams leave the Institute with at least a draft plan to either improve, expand, or develop an FPCTP. Because at the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities, our mission, the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities serves as the state coordinating center to establish and support quality post-secondary education programs for students with intellectual disabilities in collaboration with universities, state colleges, and technical colleges, with the goal of increasing independent living and competitive integrated employment. And our vision is to increase college opportunities, meaningful credentials, and employment for individuals with intellectual disabilities. So let's talk for a few minutes about the 10-year anniversary celebration. And many of our team coordinators and directors were able to attend the event. I know that the date was not good for everyone, but we had a great turnout. And we were fortunate that Senator Andy Gardner and his wife Camille came and both shared just their thoughts on the center and Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Programs and their desire to see all students with an intellectual disability have that opportunity to attend post-secondary education. And they certainly have moved it forward here in the state of Florida. We also were able to talk Dr. Paula Kohler into coming back and talking to us about that first year, whenever she pulled everything together. And she did a beautiful job of talking about how just the whole concept of Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Programs and the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities came about. Also, our second executive director, Dr. Janice C. Brooks Blackmore, attended and talked about the growth that was experienced during the time that she was the director here at FCSUA. We also invited some of our advisory board members and Dr. Amy Bratton, who is currently the provost at Polk State College, attended, and she previously was at Southeastern University, and in both places has been very instrumental in developing Florida post-secondary comprehensive transitions programs. And you can tell she gave a very encouraging and enthusiastic few words to the group. Just wanted to share this picture of the entire FCSUA team gathered for the 10-year celebration. And just to tell you, you may see that number 10 again later this year. So we want to talk just a little bit about what our work has been and our approach, because we use a capacity building and program improvement model. And this year will make 20 years that this process has been supporting capacity building and program improvement. You know, it's an integral component of the center's work to promote the supply and demand of FPCTPs built on evidence-based practices. And it is to facilitate strategic planning through the Institute, that Florida Post-Secondary Education Program Planning Institute, using an online system that integrates intervention and implementation science. With input from a national team of scholars and practitioners, we have developed a draft or developed a paper of the taxonomy and the online system, which includes the student focused, program and institution focused, faculty and staff focused, and concept and system design focused taxonomy. And I'll be talking about that more in a few minutes. So the program improvement process starts with step 1 and 2, which is to gather a team and assess evidence of current practices, and then to move to creating a yearly plan with data collection methods. Execute that yearly plan and collect data. Use that data collected to evaluate outcomes and then identify what worked and what didn't work and what may need to change. It extends the research to practice. The strategic planning tool, the content inside of the strategic planning tool is the taxonomy for post-secondary comprehensive transition programs. And as I mentioned earlier, this was designed with a group of experts, and it is a guiding framework used to assist institutions of higher education in Florida to develop post-secondary education programs for students with intellectual disabilities. It serves as part of our capacity building model that helps expand post-secondary education across the state. And the content and domains were established using three research-based frameworks on transition and post-secondary education for students with intellectual disabilities. And they're all cited there below. Here is a visual of the taxonomy. And of course, we start in the center by being student focused. Our primary focus is the student. And we know that students in higher education need person-centered planning, self-determination skills, paid work experience, financial aid support, and also the institution needs to look at students' rights and responsibilities. Those students are taught and served by faculty and staff. And so under the faculty and staff focused areas, we look at professional development, that all learners have access and support, and that the IHE faculty and staff engage and support programs. Those faculty and staff work in a program and in an institution, the next level. And so at that level, we're looking at student recruitment and enrollment, credentials and competitive employment, materials and resources, and also program evaluation. And the larger circle is concept and system development. So it's really looking at mission alignment. Is your mission aligned with the mission of the institution of higher education where your program is located? It looks at accommodations, modifications, and supports, standards of practice, evaluation of metrics, and also engagement with the community. So the strategic planning tool, which houses the taxonomy for comprehensive transition programs. When is that used? Well, it's used all year, but the majority of planning begins at the Florida Post-Secondary Education Program Planning Institute. So every July, and for 2025 participants, we had 38 higher education institutions there and 245 attendees. And then it's followed up with a mid-year progress update in January. And for 2026, we had 37 approved Florida post-secondary comprehensive transition programs and 65 attendees. The mid-year progress update is just for approved programs. The PEPI is for approved programs and anyone interested in developing a program. So let's talk a little bit about the products and supports for students, families, and FPCTPs. So, accommodations between high school and college, which is a document detailing the differences in accommodations available for individuals with disabilities in high school versus college settings. And it's important that we all know that high school and the Individuals with Disability Education Act is entitlement, and post-secondary education in comprehensive transition um, programs is eligibility. Next, What is an FPCTP? We're continually meeting folks that have not heard of Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Programs and who also may not be familiar with the opportunity that is now provided to young adults with intellectual disabilities to attend higher education, which is a document that provides a brief overview of FPCTPs written to inform families and institutions of higher education. We also have a document that's guiding questions, and it's a document that provides students a list of questions for them and their parents to ask and ponder while visiting different programs. Just as we all chose different colleges and universities to attend, students also need to look at options and make a decision and find the program that best meets their needs and aligns with their strengths and interests. Another product is the reporting schedule, which is a detailed calendar with due dates and reminders of reports that our programs must submit to the center, with the option to download the calendar into the program leader's personal calendars. Also, a credentials dashboard. And the credentials dashboard is an interactive dashboard available on our website that displays current credential offerings by approved programs sorted by career field and institution. Also, the Family to Family Toolkit, an online interactive module to help families and students prepare for the transition from high school to college and post-secondary education. Those are just some of our products. So let's talk about our current results. Currently, there are 8 universities, 9 state colleges, and 20 technical colleges with approved Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition programs. And we have other applications that are very near completion and will be sent, and we should have more programs in place before we meet in July for those programs that are coming to the PEPI. In grants, funds awarded during the 24-25 year were $6 million. During the 24-25 year, we paid invoices of $8.2 million. Currently active grants, and it's even more than this right now because we have a new grant that has been awarded very recently, but currently active grants are $37.8 million. And in the 25-26 year, we had 10.9 million allocated for that. And so we know that we're going to need additional money as we move forward, and you see it progressing there in 26, 27, 27, and 28 as programs that are in development complete their grants and submit those grants for award. Let's look at FPCTP scholarships for students attending an approved program. 425 students received funds in 24-25. So that is up from, you see, 273 students in 22-23, 308 students in 23-24, 354 students in 24-25 to 425. So in 25-26, we have this year already awarded $3.7 million in student scholarships. It's wonderful that our state supports young adults and adults with an intellectual disability pursuing post-secondary education, wanting to earn a meaningful credential that will lead to better employment with the grants, with the center, and with the student scholarships. Student enrollment continues to increase. It was 425 in 25-26, and you see the numbers from the 3 previous years. It'll be exciting to see what the 26-27 year looks like because we've certainly increased the number of programs. Here's something pretty impressive too when we look at the retention rate of students. 92% for the 24-25 year. It'll be interesting when we look at the 25-26 year, but we were at 92%, up from 86, 88. And that's really because of the hard work of many of you on this webinar today and the services that you provide and the supports to students and the encouragement. Um, to help students be successful and to remain in the program. So there are 461 student completers, and 64% of those completers are employed. Most of us are aware of degrees that can be earned at universities and colleges, such as an associate's or a bachelor's. Students enrolled in FPCTPs are working towards credentials and certificates as well, typically not a degree. Those credentials are issued to show that students have completed programs or training that help them qualify for a specific type of employment, a specific career. So the certificates are earned by students after they successfully complete a brief course of study and may be given to recognize either foundational skills or knowledge up to advanced learning. Industry certifications are earned to verify competencies in a specific field or skill set and are awarded by professional organizations. For example, the CPR first aid certification is issued by the American Red Cross. Serve Safe Food Handler is an industry certification that may be earned by students in culinary programs. There are also local certifications and also many micro-credentials and badges. In a moment, we will show you how to discover the FPCTP programs and what they offer in specific credentials and certificates. So here's one success story of a student, Tyler Hill from Fort Myers Technical College. The program is Hire How I Reach Employment, and his credential earned was a Master Automotive Services Technology. Program completion was in December 2024, and his current employment, he works for the school district of Lee County's transportation department. So congratulations, Tyler, and what a great success story. Another student success story is Sienna Smilov, and she attended Santa Fe College, Project Saint, and her earned credential was in human services. She completed in May 2019 and works at the Village, North Florida Retirement, which is a retirement village across the road from Santa Fe College. And another student is Arushi Pratap, and she attended Southeastern University, SEU Link, and she received a master and I think this may be an error here. I don't think that it was an automotive service technology. I apologize for that error, but her current employment is in graphic design at K-Force. She is a shining example of following your dreams, and she credits the SCU Link program for her success. Arushi enrolled in the program as a shy young woman, but upon completion in 2022, she was more confident, self-assured, um, and ready to make all of her dreams come true. She works as a part-time graphic designer at K-Force, Tampa's largest staffing company, and in a role she creates marketing materials for the company, building upon skills that she learned at Southeastern University in the art and design credential track. She also teaches art and cooking classes at the Hive Inclusion Community and does freelance graphic work for the Tampa Bay Lightning and creates custom art pieces for private clients. One of Arushi's proudest accomplishments is her fashion design business. For the past 3 years, she has displayed her fashion lines at the Tampa Bay Fashion Week, and in 2025, debuted her collection at New York Fashion Week. Her fashion line is currently available at the Tampa International Airport. And she has also contributed to fashion show fundraisers for the Hive, McDonald's Training Center, and Special Olympics. So, how does the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities evaluate program success? We do that through the information that we receive from each of you at our Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Programs. We have an annual report for program information in July, and approved programs with active grants have quarterly reports on their grant activities to support expenses, and those are due October 15, January 15, April, and July 15. There's also an annual and final performance reports, and that's July 15, and also for the final 60 days after the end of the grant. And then approved programs with students enrolled provide information on scholarship disbursement reports at the end of the semester, an annual report known as the Student Information Report by August 1st, and student follow-up reports on students that have exited the program by August 1st. And so as we look to the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities future, we plan to have continuous support FPCTPs to have continuous improvement and capacity building. With the increase of our TA staff, our team is able to participate in more on-site to support program development and increase the quality outcomes of our students. More credentials offered through updating our data collection and models when needed, and implementing new reports and dashboards to automate the analysis of that information in the FCSUA community. We also are still growing more programs throughout the state of Florida. Our goal is to expand outreach to our historically Black colleges and universities, private universities, and our state colleges. As you know, our technical colleges, we've got 20, and we're focusing on some of our others a little extra to keep the numbers growing in those areas as well. At the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities, we plan to have expanded resources and supports by developing key program indicators to help programs identify targeted areas of improvement. We will also be launching Dare to Dream to Go to College, a major product and resource on our website. And additionally, we'll also continue targeted professional development at the Florida Post-Secondary Education Program Planning Institute. And I have the save the date later in this presentation for everyone to mark your calendars. We're also increasing research and publications with the support of our postdoc scholars and are looking at predictors of post-secondary success for students with intellectual disabilities. We want to increase our data to direct our future by improving our database architecture to create student transcript records, centralizing and organizing how the credentials information is stored so that we can better tell the student story through the program and understand better what leads to student success. Because for our completers of programs, we want improved employment outcomes, more post-secondary experiences, improved wages and independence, and greater community involvement. Now, here's an example of the credentials dashboard that we shared. And if you haven't visited this on our website, it's under Find an FPCTP, and it shows all of the different programs and the different credentials. And there's a lot of sorting tools that can be used with this. Um, Most of us are aware of degrees that can be earned at universities and colleges, but these are really looking at the credentials that students are earning in comprehensive transition and post-secondary programs here in Florida. So as we talk about what's next, well, as I said earlier, more on-site support with program development and continuous improvement. Those key program indicators to improve quality and support um, programs to set targeted goals whenever you're doing strategic planning, improve our database architecture, and we're always open to input from all of our team members and all of our program members to share with us things that they feel could make it easier. The launch of Dare to Dream About College on our website, and improving the digital documentations and resources available through the FCSUA knowledge database. So we're not going to we're not going to slow down. We're going to continue to work towards improvement. And we do that through the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities team. And I am very grateful to have a very strong team. We have the program director for infrastructure and operations, Claudia Bellapunto, the program director for technical assistance and outreach, Cheryl Sandvoss, and then our assistant program directors for technical assistance, and that is Jackie Dwyer, Jackie Marquez Dupre, and Christian Zimmerman. Our program manager and outreach coordinator, Iris Neal, will be leaving us and we will be retiring at the end of this week. And so I'm sure that you've received information through an email about that. And as she has said, on to the next adventure. Our marketing communication specialist, Drexler James, our web content specialist, Alex Trilling, our administrative coordinator, Maria Pichardo, our web developers, Teja Puvala and Tanmay Aurora, our postdoctoral scholars, Dr. Don Scott and Dr. Xingyao Chen, and we have a student worker who is a student here at UCF, Paolo Nascimento, and also a student from the Inclusive Education Services who works with us, Will Brenneman. And we're ready to charge on. And one of the ways that we're charging forward is planning for an exciting 2026 Florida Post-Secondary Education Program Planning Institute. And that will be July 13th through 15, 2026. Again, it will be at the Hyatt Regency, Grand Cypress in Orlando. And this year we will be celebrating 10 years of growth and success with the FPCTP Act. So keep your ears open and please look at all emails because you'll be receiving information about the celebration. Every time that we provide a webinar, we like your input on that webinar. Was it helpful? Was the information valuable? What are suggested webinars for the future? And how can we make that better? And the only way we know that is if you complete the FPCTP webinar evaluation. So this QR code can take you to the link. There's also the link there at the bottom. And if you registered, you'll also be receiving an email asking you to complete the evaluation if you did not have time today. But I'll wait here for just a minute for everybody to click on the QR code. And we greatly appreciate and we listen to every evaluation. Our postdoc scholars do a wonderful job of breaking down all of the feedback that we receive, and we take that very seriously to try to make it better and meet your needs even more. Do we have any questions in our chat from the webinar today?
Not at this time.
if you have a question, um, and you can either write that in the chat or Drexler, can folks unmute themselves and
They're not unable to unmute themselves. However, if they do want to put the question in the Q&A, I can read the question out loud.
okay. So if anyone has any questions, and as always, thank you for taking the time out of your busy day today to join us, to help us celebrate this year, 10 years of success. We certainly could not have done it with many of you who have been so supportive of the development of programs, who have such successful programs, who share with us those success stories of students, the success stories of programs, who have taken the time to develop programs, write grants, who provide scholarship information for students. We know that it's a lot of information, but there is a lot of accountability that comes with the funding from the state. And so we're trying to make that as smooth as possible for you. And we just want to always be sure that we say thank you for all that you do, the hard work that you do, and the differences that you make in lives every day. And we also encourage you to follow us on social media. So whether it's Facebook, Instagram, X, or YouTube, we encourage you to follow us. And as I said, this recording, it'll take a couple of days because we do make sure that it is that it has closed captioning on the video for those who may need that. And you will be receiving an email with a link. And if you've not had a chance, I think the PDF for this webinar has been placed in the chat box. And so I hope that you have a copy of that. Are there any questions at this time, Drexler?
No questions in the chat. However, I would like to add, we also are now on LinkedIn as well. So please also follow our new LinkedIn page at Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities on LinkedIn as well.
Thank you. And I wish everyone a good day. And thank you so much for joining us today. Goodbye.